Meanwhile, moving on to news out of Washington, President Trump's agenda focuses on immigration today, but his mind is on the Russia investigation. This morning, the president fumed over what he called a major spy scandal over the FBI's reported use of an informant who was in contact with the Trump campaign ahead of the 2016 presidential election. In a series of tweets, the president claimed a, quote, spy was placed early in his campaign and then slammed a so-called criminal deep state. He also dubbed the situation Spygate and suggested it could be one of the biggest political scandals in history. Of course, he provided no evidence to back up those allegations. Now, this comes ahead of a meeting tomorrow at the White House between Justice Department intelligence officials and Republican lawmakers who have been pushing to see classified documents. Now, the meetings come under fire from Democrats who were not invited. Here is the president addressing the issue earlier.
If you look at Clapper, he sort of admitted that they had spies in the campaign yesterday, inadvertently. But I hope it's not true, but it looks like it is. Because everybody wants this solved. But a lot of bad things have happened. We now call it Spygate. You're calling it Spygate. A lot of bad things have happened. I want them all to get together. They'll sit in a room. Hopefully they'll be able to work it out among themselves.
All right, that was the president earlier today. Let's get straight to Bob Cusack. He's the editor-in-chief of The Hill. So, Bob, the whole reason an informant allegedly approached members of Donald Trump's campaign was because of their contact, the campaign's contacts with suspected Russian agents. Now, that's a valid concern. So is the president, his line of unproven attacks simply a distraction? And the more important question, I guess, is it working?
I think to some degree, Vlad, it is working because even though this was before Robert Mueller was named as special counsel, this is giving critics of the investigation, of the Russia investigation, some ammunition to go after both Comey and now Mueller. So now, there's a lot we don't know, and I think it's important that we get to the bottom of it. And I think that barring classified information, lawmakers are going to get a lot more information than they've gotten to this point. But at the same time, there's just this huge fight over the Mueller investigation. So everything is so political, and but we have Trump now, who I think has struggled to really discredit Mueller. Now he's got something he can chew into, and certainly he's doing it with his tweets.
It is remarkable that the number of tweets the president has launched in the last 24, 48 hours over this issue seems to supersede what he's supposedly planning for, which is this meeting with the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. But I want to draw our viewers' attention to former FBI Director James Comey, who fired back today on Twitter saying this: "Facts matter. The FBI's use of confidential human sources is tightly regulated and essential to protecting the country. Attacks on the FBI and lying about its work will do lasting damage to the country." He went on to say, how will Republicans explain this to their grandchildren? So, Bob, in your analysis and in talking to some of your sources, are they saying that the president is seemingly undermining these institutions? And if so, how do Republicans who are still in control of all branches of government respond?
Certainly, Trump is going after Comey and is certainly going after what he calls the deep state. Now, his new Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, says he doesn't believe in the deep state. But certainly, I think this has been surprising because when Trump came into office, I thought when he got his people into the FBI and the CIA that he would stop going after the intelligence community. That has not happened, partly because of this ongoing investigation. So that's where members are saying, hey, we want to find out more information on this. And remember, they've got to really toe a delicate line because the controversy earlier this week was Trump ordering the Department of Justice to investigate something that was related to investigation of his own campaign, which constitutional critics were saying that's out of bounds. Now they're able to step back and say the Inspector General is going to look at this. Now remember, the Inspector General is also looking at James Comey, in particular, how he handled the Hillary Clinton email controversy, and I think that he's going to take some hits on that one. So I'm sure Trump will probably tweet when that report comes out, probably within the next month.
It is, though, sort of remarkable that the president is trying to undermine the credibility of the special counsel when, in fact, the special counsel has either indicted or gotten guilty pleas from 19 people. And that doesn't seem to be registering with people who, and it's not just a question of people who support Donald Trump and people who don't. It just doesn't seem as if that's a concern of the president and his administration and his surrogates, at least when it comes to trying to spin this.
Well, yeah, Vlad, I mean, if you look at the comments just this week of former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who has experience as a prosecutor, and basically he's saying Robert Mueller is a good guy. Look at all the indictments he's gotten so far, whether it's been plea deals with Michael Flynn. We have the Manafort trial that's coming up in a few months. So this is something that has not, it's yielded some results. Now, critics of Mueller say, number one, he hired some donors to Hillary Clinton, but number two, we haven't seen collusion, at least not yet. So I think that's where the impetus is going to be, and the pressure is going to be on Mueller, is what do you have on collusion? And of course, his investigation, as we all know, is ongoing. So we don't know a lot of what he is going to reveal. And I think on Michael Cohen, you got to expect an indictment really any day now.
And yeah, and that's something that a lot of people have been expecting, a lot of legal experts have been expecting. And I wonder, I asked you earlier, Bob, if this is working. And I kind of have been thinking about this while we've been talking, and I wonder, when I say is it working with who? Is it working with the people who follow President Trump on Twitter? Is it working with people who watch various news channels and read various blogs and newspapers? Or is it working with the country and the people who are going to be voting in the midterm elections?
I think it's certainly working with Trump's base, but Trump's base is with him no matter what. So now, but if you look at the polls about Mueller approval rating and his investigation, he has taken a bit of a hit, not a huge hit in the numbers, single digits. But I think part of it is that this investigation is a year long. People like to investigate. Americans like when things are looked into and investigating. But the question is, how long will this go on, and when can he release any type of findings? He can't do it, I think, right before the midterm elections. So potentially, Vlad, I mean, this goes beyond the midterms. And then, of course, the big question is Trump going to get rid of Mueller? Would he fire Rod Rosenstein?
Yeah, and Rudy Giuliani, the president's lawyer, seems to be saying that the special counsel will come out with something before the midterm is probably in September. We'll have to see if that pans out. Let me turn your attention and our viewers' attention to this. The Justice Department officials are set to meet with Congressman Devin Nunes and Trey Gowdy tomorrow to go over the review of classified information. So I guess the question is, do you expect this to help put the issues, at least with House Republicans, to rest? No, not entirely. I think Republicans are not going to be satisfied with whatever answer they get. Devin Nunes and Trey Gowdy have split. And remember, Gowdy is retiring from Congress. So I'm going to be looking at what he says. Is he satisfied? He's the Oversight Committee chairman. Devin Nunes has been a vocal supporter of President Trump, where Gowdy has been more measured. So, but do I think this is going to put the controversy to rest? No, I think they'll get more access to information. And I do think it's a valid question of what was the role of this informant? What can the public know? And some information we may never know because it's classified. Is it surprising to you that no Democrats have been invited to this meeting?
Yeah, and there's some concerns among Republicans we've picked up about that issue, that it looks like a partisan meeting. And, of course, the House Intelligence Committee, which used to be bipartisan, and the Senate Intelligence Committee, which it continues to be bipartisan. But the House panel is so polarized right now, those guys can't even talk to one another. So I think that's why, part of the reason why no Democrats were invited. But I don't think that looks good.
Bob Cusack, always good to talk to you, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, Vlad.